Good morning. I'm Jeanne Snedeker. I'm the Director of Christian Education, and I'd like to invite our children forward. There's a few that came out in the rain. Hi, boys. Come on. Come on up. Come on. Oh, you fell down. I'm so sorry. Come on, have a seat. You can sit beside me. Yeah. Morning, girls. Come on up. Well, I am so happy to be back with you. I was sick last week, and I still have just a tiny little cough, so I'm just going to wear a mask just so I don't share any cough germs, okay? Well, I have a question for you this morning. Are we all awake and ready for a question? Yes? Okay, Emerson is. Okay. Who is your neighbor? Now, hang on a second. I'm going to give you a little minute to let that simmer, okay? And I'm going to tell you a little bit about one of our neighbors. This is a person who lives right next door to us. His name is Ray. Ray is a really wonderful neighbor. He is a retired veterinarian. What does a veterinarian do? Yes, he's an animal doctor. So he's a retired animal doctor. He has built his own sailboat, and it actually floats. He goes jet skiing with his friends. Ray rides his bike 10 miles a day. I want to be just like Ray when I grow up. Ray is in his 80s. He's a wonderful, wonderful neighbor. Now, how about you guys? Who is your neighbor?
Nobody.
Nobody.
Our neighbor's moving.
Tell me.
Our neighbor's moving.
Your neighbor's moving, so you have nobody as a neighbor right now. Well, that has its advantages. How about you guys? Miss Marty is your neighbor, and do you like living next door to Miss Marty? That's wonderful. I kind of think we probably all have or have had neighbors like Ray, right? Neighbors that are fun to live next to. You can share things out of your garden with, and you get a chance to talk with them over the hedge. They're nice neighbors to live next to. But what if you don't know your neighbor? Even harder, what if you don't like your neighbor? What then? Nobody. Well, that's kind of tricky, isn't it? But during Jesus' ministry, he told people over and over and over how important it was to love your neighbor. Now, you guys probably know the story of the Good Samaritan. I'm going to remind you of that story. It's all about a man who was walking on the road and was attacked by robbers. And he gets hurt, and he gets robbed, and he's left at the side of the road, and he needs help. Along comes a priest who's a fancy person in the church, and he keeps right on going. He doesn't stop and help. Along comes another important church guy, and he also doesn't stop and help. And then along comes a third man. Anybody know who that third man was? God. Well, it was actually a Samaritan. This is the story of the man who stopped and helped, right? And at the time, you guys, Samaritans were not part of the in crowd, right? They weren't the cool kids at school. They were considered outsiders. So the man who was hurt probably thought, there's no way he's going to help me. But he stopped, and he helped, and he did the loving thing. And do you know that that's how we're supposed to behave? That Jesus tells us that everybody is our neighbor. Everybody in the whole world. And that means people that we like and people that we don't. That means people who agree with us and people who don't. That means people who look different, live in different places, speak different languages. Jesus calls us to love everyone. And we have a really wonderful opportunity every day, boys and girls, to choose to be like the Good Samaritan. We can make the choice to put our love into action. That's not always easy, is it? But God helps us do things that we can't do all by ourselves. God helps us to be stronger and wiser than we are all by ourselves. So the most important thing we're ever going to do in our life is to love God. And we show God our love by loving each other. Okay? Let's say a prayer. Loving God, we thank you for your love. We thank you that each and every day you give us the new chance to make the loving choice. Help us to be good neighbors and help us to love one another. Amen. Okay, we're going to go to Sunday school.